key to getting Ryle right? Because you just nailed it, because he's not a bad guy or a monster. He loves her. What was the key to sort of finding that balance to showing what clearly you learned from talking to all of these survivors?
Yeah, well, the first thing is, like, what Ryle does in the movie is unforgivable. And there's never an excuse. No matter how much trauma a man has, there is never an excuse to lay hands and hurt a woman, physically or emotionally. And we have to also understand that the majority of domestic violence isn't visible. These are the scars are invisible. These are things that, you know, it's emotional, it's gaslighting, it's all of the various things that so many people experience.
And their chemistry together is insane.
You could tell the chemistry even just in the first look photos, like the stills, before you could even see any of the visual medium. So that says a lot about you two.
Blake Lively could have chemistry with a rock. It could have been just a tree, and there would have been chemistry. And it'd be like, oh my God, the tree did so good with Blake.
That's a compliment, Blake. That is
she's that talented. So I take no credit for that.
Obviously, when the first on-set photos dropped of Blake as Lily, a lot of people had a lot to say about her wardrobe in particular. So what message do you have for maybe those fans who are being a little too critical right now before they've even seen the film?
Go see the movie. And also, I understand when you love something so much, you know, the social media is amazing in that way. Like, it gives fans a voice. And if it were not for the fans, we would not be making this movie.
Right.
So, you know, let them talk. And I don't worry about that too much because, again, the photos show one moment from one part of Lily's life. And we're not always thinking about, well, why her clothes look that way in that area. And also, once you see the movie, like, it all makes sense.
For anybody who hasn't read the book or seen the film already, tell our audience what it's about.
Well, it's based on a beautiful, really important book, and it's about a young woman named Lily who confronts the generational cycles in her life and breaks them and ends the circle. And I hope people find it inspiring.
As the book gets deeper and deeper and kind of the layers of the onion are unpeeled and you start to understand what the book is really about, I just remember having this moment of like, oh wow, I haven't ever seen anything like this. As we were starting to figure out who was going to be our Lily, a lot of names were thrown around. And at one point, Blake's name came up. And what I found fascinating was looking at the reactions of the various women in the room as we were talking about potential Lilies and seeing how many of them lit up when they heard the name Blake Lively. And for me, it was really important to cast somebody as Lily who was going to be approachable, was going to be likable, women could relate to.
For people who don't know, that, you know, you tackle domestic violence in a way that a lot of people don't expect. I think you think of a typical abuser, or you think of a typical victim, but this is nuancy. And sometimes by the time you get to the end of it, you really don't know how you feel.
I'm grateful to Blake for just being a powerhouse of a performer and an amazing collaborator. And
really captivated her and made her want to give you over the movie rights. I mean, she had a lot of requests.
Yeah, I don't know if, again, I feel like there was some divine guidance there. I don't think it was the words. I think it was the intention and the why that I wanted to make the movie, and the heart that I try to put in everything that I do.
Just tell me what it was like also collaborating with Blake in this.
Oh, she's a creative force. She's a genius. She was involved in every aspect of this production, and everything she touched, she made better. Early on in the process, you know, right when we started pre-production, we started searching for our intimacy coordinator, and we ended up having 2 intimacy coordinators. Early on, you know, as I was beginning to start the process of adapting this film, I'm a man, and this is a story that is told through the lens of a woman. And especially when it relates to intimacy scenes and to scenes where there is a mix of intimacy and violence, I wanted to make sure that those scenes had a female gaze. And in no way was I running them through my male brain. As much as I can try to see the world as a woman, I never will be able to. I think the most important aspect of Ryle I wanted to get across was his humanity, in the sense that in order for this film to work as a film and not as a book, because we have to separate the two, in order for this to work as a film, you have to believe and understand what Lily saw in him. So you have to believe that there's real love there. So he has to be charming, he has to be interesting, they have to have banter, and you have to see him through Lily's eyes through the first half of the film. So I wanted to show his humanity, his charm, his charisma, And at the same time, make sure that none of that ever justified any of the terrible things he does in the movie, because there is nothing you could ever do or say to justify what he does, which is a situation that is very real to so many people. I just wanted to make sure that we injected as much humanity into the movie as possible, into the complexity of Ryle as an example, making sure that he was a character that wasn't just one note and wasn't some like arch villain, but he was a complex, deeply troubled, insecure man who also had amazing qualities, because in order for this movie to work, you have to understand why she chose somebody like him. And the reality is that, after I read the book, one of the thoughts that came to mind was, this could be a movie that helps people no longer ask the question, why did she stay? And then you also, like you said, have the ability to show men who may be on a similar path to Ryle, who haven't done the work, who haven't started the process of healing, what can happen if they don't take care of themselves, and how they can end up destroying their lives and hurting the person they love the most.
As it relates to the acting part, it's a heavy load to carry. I wanted to do as much justice as I could to survivors by making Ryle as truthful as possible. So spoke with so many women who'd experienced abuse at the hands of somebody like Ryle. And then in that process, you just gotta do the prep and create this character and have him live in you for a while and then put him away. And he only shows up when you say action. So for me, the secret, if there was a secret, was to just make sure that the audience understood why Lily could fall in love with him. Because I didn't want anyone judging her. I think we judge enough women and victims, and we've been asking the same question for years, why doesn't she leave? I didn't want anyone to ask that question. I wanted people to understand
why they stay.
Why?
Because that's the question.
But the real question is why do we keep allowing men to harm? Why do we keep, why have we created a system where men, can make it unsafe for 1 in 3 women globally? And I think we men have to step up and figure out how we can be better allies and do the work internally, become safe spaces for ourselves, so this world can finally be a safe space for everybody that we love.